There are things in that book that I have applied all the way till now.
I was a celibate. I didn't know anything about relationships, but I found myself. I found that I was one with the universe. It was a pure experience, unbounded awareness. The most recent one is I had $30 million in my foundation, and somebody took it all. It was completely stolen.
Oh my God.
When you're affected by cortisol, all of your reactions will be overreactions. There's no such thing as a balanced, reasonable reaction if you're in a state of stress.
Right. Welcome to Live Your Love radio show, podcast, and video show. I'm Dr. Alicia Doss, and I am beyond delighted to welcome Dr. John Gray. So happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be with you again.
Well, thank you. Absolutely. This is my beloved listeners and viewers. John is literally one of my favorite people to interview on the planet. I listen to his work. I've read his books forever. So very excited to have you. In case you've been on an island and you haven't heard of John, may I call you John?
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. I'll tell you a little bit about John, and then we will have a beautiful conversation that will serve many. So joining us today is my incredible, such a big influence on relationships for me. It's Dr. John Gray, who is the author of the iconic #1 relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and dozens of other books that are incredibly fabulous. He is... USA Today listed his book as one of the top 10 influential books of the last 25 years. I don't doubt that for a second. It was a #1 best-selling book of the 1990s. And Dr. John Gray's books are translated into 45 languages in 100 countries. He's written over 20 books, including his most recent book, Beyond Mars and Venus, and a new one coming out, which we'll tell you about in a little bit, but I want to buy it now. The new one. Dr. Gray has appeared repeatedly on Oprah, as well as the Dr. Oz Show, Today, Good Morning America, and has been profiled in Time, Forbes, USA Today, and People magazine. Again, my friend, thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be with you. Looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you. I am as well. And as I was sharing with John, I've done 2 of his workshops in person. Both were magnificent. I highly recommend them. And I read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus when it first came out. And there are things in that book that I have applied all the way till now. So you are such an incredible positive influence for both men and women.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I want to start off with, actually, we'll edit this out, but I'm going to start off with calling in the light, which my show is known for. Another way of saying that is invocation. So let's just open our hearts. If you're not driving, close your eyes and just come present into this moment. Perhaps you feel your feet on the floor, connecting into the golden orb in the center of the earth, that you might feel grounded and rooted and stable. And allowing your consciousness to flow now into the higher realms of light, being aware that you are also a winged being, a spiritual being. We just place Dr. John Gray, myself, this show, each of you, into the light of the Holy Spirit, the light of the Christ, for the highest good. Asking that anything that's less than light just be taken and transmuted as we place this beautiful conversation into God's light. Asking for healing between the sexes and within each of us, that our planet might be blessed by this conversation, which we place into the light for the highest good. And I ask that John be blessed, his loved ones be blessed as well. For this and all things we give thanks. And so be it. Amen.
Amen. That was beautiful. Thank you.
My pleasure. Well, speaking of spiritual, I read that you were a monk and you were the personal assistant to the Maharishi. Is that accurate?
I lived with him for 9 years.
Wow. Can you share with us just a little bit about what you learned from that time and how it's influenced you?
I learned a lot. To summarize, it would be several interviews. But simply put, the value of meditation, I'm a master of meditation after 50 years of meditating. And after many years of meditation, being able to experience the other self, the bigger self, and to be able from that place call in God's angels. So I really appreciate what you're saying, what you're doing for people, helping them access angels, because we want to bring God's light into the world, co-creating with the divine. And that's what I do with all my work. I feel like I open myself up to guidance of my higher self, connecting to God and letting the words come through me in response to people's challenges. Now, I didn't do all this during those 9 years with Maharishi. I was a celibate. I didn't know anything about relationships. But I found myself. I found that I was one with the universe. It was a pure experience, unbounded awareness. It was wonderful. Then I found that God was expressing in everyone, which Maharishi used to call God consciousness. To me, it was a bit of ungroundedness, because everybody's God, and the world is perfect, and you have to bring that awareness that yes, the world is perfect and everything is perfect, and we're always in the right place at the right time. It couldn't be any better. And then bring that down into the practical awareness, which happened as soon as I started having earthlier relationships with sex. It was wonderful. It brought that light into a very concrete form of love, and learned how to now manifest love through my actions in practical terms.
Beautiful. I love that. And that is my experience of you, is you're quite grounded. You're not doing it. You know, it can be easy in spiritual circles to do a spiritual bypass. That is not my experience of you. I experience you bringing it into this world.
Yeah, I found that a big part of not letting it be a spiritual bypass, in a sense, for 9 years, it was a spiritual bypass. It was getting higher and higher and higher, expanded until there was no groundedness, so to speak. And then coming into the world, it's like it's almost as though I hit my destination. I felt very enlightened. Maharishi acknowledged that I was, his best student. I was cosmic consciousness. I was God consciousness. I was unity consciousness.
Wow.
And it's kind of after that proclamation, there were very clear stages of that. But then it was time to go out into the world and live a life. And like, what am I here for? Once I found my source, the oneness with the source, not the source, but oneness with the source is a conscious expression of source. Then it was, what's my destiny? What's my purpose? And I've been continuing to live that life and be guided by my mistakes. I think that such part of being grounded is to realize that we're not perfect. We're imperfect expressions of the perfection of the universe, becoming more and more perfect, more and more aligned with our destiny. And part of that journey is, for me, was marriage. There's nothing to bring up your issues before marriage, and to heal me and to heal my lineage. It's all inside of each of us. And the more you bring light into the world, it brings up any darkness which is hanging around inside, so to speak. I think that's what's happening in the world today with this, angelic presence coming into the world. Those who are meditators have certainly noticed that there's a huge, powerful force coming into our life. But it's not always an easy ride, because when you have more light and love or motivation, everything that holds you back from expressing that motivation shows up. And it's a process of cleansing. And just like we cleanse our bodies from all the toxicity, we need to cleanse the toxicity of our childhood, what we absorbed from our parents, what their parents brought into the world. And eventually you're dealing with the global problems. And, the world's more spiritual now. And so everybody seems to be going to a great extent through the same issues in their own personal life, through their own uniqueness, the huge challenges that are facing the world right now. As more light is coming in, the resistance to that light is showing up very clearly. So people are seeing that darkness exists in this world. For beings of light, it's hard to imagine how evil some people can be. And that's part of our journey, is to see that evil exists. And although oneself is not evil, but we carry within us some version of evil in a toned down way, to where we can relate and understand people's evilness, their corruptness, and then find forgiveness. The whole thing is we have to find forgiveness, not allow people to walk over us, but to find forgiveness, not let that torture us, and also to make choices that align us with beings of light and not letting the darkness creep in.
So beautifully said. So you are such a pioneer. You brought this whole practice into the world. I imagine that, just as you're saying, to paraphrase you, when we're of light, the darkness is going to challenge that, or there's going to be naysayers, and there's going to be persecution even. Did you experience that? And if so, how do we navigate that?
I could talk to you for hours. The most recent one is I had $30 million in my foundation, and somebody took it all. It was completely stolen.
Oh,
and I
my
lost
gosh.
my savings. And when you live at that level of having that much money, you take on responsibilities. There's charities I support. There's people I help. There's employees that I could easily hire, and even though it didn't necessarily make me money, bring my message into the world. And then suddenly I'm faced with, I got to make that money back again. So it's a gift from God, because I haven't written a book in 6 years or 8 years. My wife passed 7 years ago, and which was a huge shift in my life, the love of my life, my soulmate. 34 years, this greatest thing in my life I give to her. And learning to grieve and go through that process of grief. And then I was very happy. I got remarried again. I'm very happy.
Oh,
just
you
a happy
remarried.
person.
Oh, how
Yeah,
wonderful.
I got
Congratulations.
remarried.
You were, when I saw you last, you had a girlfriend that you spoke very highly of, and you're married to her now.
Yeah, it turned out to marriage. And so in that situation, I was just having a good time and a really happy time.
Yeah.
But not writing books. Writing books means I sit at a computer for at least 8 hours a day and not talking to anybody, at least trying to not talk to anybody. And it's a big process.
Yeah.
So having lost my fortune, I go, okay, I got to earn money. So I'm going to start writing books again. And I'm having a time of my life writing books. But that would be one example of having something horrible, devastating happen to you, and then turning a lemon into lemonade. I could go down the list of so many things that have happened in my life. There's always, the way the evil creeps in, it's always through your friends. They get to your friends, and from your friends, you trust your friends, so that you end up trusting the others. It's a big story. But throughout the whole thing, I've always had abundance. I've always had what I need. It's what my mother taught me. I'd say she was the most spiritual person I've ever met. If I was to look at spiritual teachers and so forth, which are wonderful beings in my life, I've known a lot. My mother was just basically lived in, she had 7 children, right? 6 boys. I never saw her upset.
6 boys, wow.
6 boys, and she had a life of abundance. My dad was a good provider. We were middle class, upper middle class, and never heard a complaint out of her, never saw her unhappy. Always saw her happy and generous and spiritual and elevated. And she was an astrologer as well. She had an esoteric bookstore that was a book collection that after the kids grew up, I remember when she came to me and she says, now that all the kids are in school, I'm thinking of having my own business, and I'm going to open up a bookstore. Is that okay with you? That's my mother. Yes, of course, Mom, do what you want, but she was very considerate to all her children. Did her very best, and was a great mom as far as I'm concerned. And then she opened up this bookstore just from her library. She got a house, another house, and put her library in there, and just put a little sign that said Aquarian Age Bookshelf. And people would find her, and she belonged to a church or something, and those people would come, and then more people would come. And as a borrowing, she would just loan her books out. She wasn't doing it for money. And then people wanted to buy the books, they wanted to keep the books. So then she started ordering books for people, and it became the biggest esoteric bookstore in the country without ever advertising.
My goodness.
It was just word of mouth, and people who live in California remember a store called the Bodhi Tree.
Yes.
It was the esoteric spiritual bookstore. Well, hers started exactly at the same time as that one, and it was twice as big eventually. It was amazing. It continued till she passed on. But she passed on so much death in my life. She passed on through a tragedy of the heater in the house, carbon monoxide, put her out. My dad died from, when he retired, he would pick up hitchhikers. And it's so, things are so cosmic and amazing when you're aligned with yourself, true self, with spirit, with God. And My last conversation with my dad, imagine this, was I said, I was just marrying Bonnie. This was now at the beginning of our relationship, and I'm just coming home to tell him we're getting married, and he's meeting my wife and so forth. My new wife is going to be new wife. And my last conversation was we were in the car, and he was driving us around, showing us Houston. And I said, now, Dad, everybody tells me you pick up hitchhikers, and I just want to be, I'm grown up, I can give you advice now, and you should not be picking up hitchhikers. And his response to me was, John, some people retire, some men retire and they go on safari. For me, I like to pick up hitchhikers and help them. That was my dad. That's my family, a very helping family. And when I was on my honeymoon, I got a call that he had been found dead in the trunk of his car, giving a hitchhiker a ride. And they didn't beat him up or anything, they just made him get into the trunk, took his money, and called the police, and the police didn't come, and he died of heat asphyxiation.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Tragedies,
Yes.
and then it's like a Greek tragedy. So I had to get on a plane right away and go to the funeral, but I wanted to be there, and I wanted to get into the trunk. So my family went out to the trunk. Car was still parked out there, and I just needed to feel what he went through. Because see, this is actually one of the reasons we have things happen to us in our life. A big part of our magnetic influence is to draw into our life experiences so that we can live those experiences and understand our parents better. See, we want to attract these situations, live them, so we have compassion and for have empathy. And so anyway, I wanted to get into the trunk. I wasn't thinking all that spiritual stuff. I just said, I got to get into the trunk. I got into the trunk. My family's outside the trunk. And I said, now close the lid. I want to go through what Dad went through. And I saw where he had taken a screwdriver in the trunk while he's lying down. He couldn't get out, and unscrewed the back light. And I saw where he pulled it back for air. He died of heat asphyxiation in the trunk. So I, without consciously thinking, I'm taking a longer story, shortening it, I just put my arm out without thinking and then pulled my arm back. And my brother, who was on the outside of the trunk, said, John, see if you can reach around and push the button. And I put my arm out, reached around, pushed the button, and opened the trunk. And this is like a metaphor of my life, is whenever there's a problem, look at it from a different point of view, and you can usually solve the problem. And so many people, somebody needs to be on the outside to help you get out, okay? There's a lot of messages in that, but one, just think the opposite. Rather than going out, think about coming in. And that's when I changed a lot of my emotional healing processes from what was going on back in the 70s, 80s, was more of a yelling and screaming your feelings out, try to get it out. And there's nothing to get out. Evil doesn't really exist. It's bring the light into it. Evil is just the absence of light. So you don't have to get anything out. You just have to bring awareness to what you're feeling. You don't have to make a big drama about it. Sometimes drama is good to help people be aware of what's inside so they can say, now I know what to shoot for, so to speak. But bring the light in. And that became the basis of, the most important transformational experience for me has always been, as I bring in more light, it hits barriers. And that's negative emotions will come up. And how to feel those negative emotions and let them go, to come back to the place of our original place, which is love and peace and happiness and joy. My little 2-year-old granddaughter, all she is happiness and joy and love. It's all inside of us. It gets covered up. We push that part of us down. And so as more light comes back, as we come back to who we truly are, connected with Source, we bump up against these negative beliefs, not good enough, can't do it, that person's getting more than me, whatever. We have all of our resistance to being fully open, our fears, our anxieties, our disappointments, our anger. So those will come up. They're programmed inside of us. We all have that programming. It's human programming. It goes back for generations, and we have to transform it. We have to be aware of it. And the key here is to feel it and then not act on it. If you feel a negative emotion and you act on it, then you don't let it go.
Right.
You can't, because it becomes your tool to get what you want. Your brain grabs onto it.
Yes.
And your brain only has negative emotions when you're feeling not safe. You're threatened in some way. So you have some threat, and you're not feeling safe. So you feel the reactions of not feeling safe, and there are always going to be layers to it, and that's part of the process. But once you feel those emotions, without using those emotions to change somebody. You know, if you're angry, you want to change somebody. Oh, don't do that. Well, you're going to feel that anger, but without any intent, just to be aware of it. That's the only intent, to understand it better. That tells the brain that you're not being attacked. You don't have to use your anger. So it says, okay, get rid of the anger. Get rid of the sadness. Sadness is always seeking empathy and support to help get help. Well, if you're feeling safe and the sadness comes up, then you feel it and you let it go. And what replaces it is back to the feelings of love and happiness. So it's learning how to process emotions. And what I found, as you learned in my workshop, we all do these exercises, but like with fear, you know, some people are just ridden with anxiety. And of course, if you watch TV and you believe the establishment, you'll always be in fear. That's terrible. When you're in fear, always when there's fear, there's also anger. But people will have anxiety, usually can't acknowledge. They're so spiritual and good that they're not going to acknowledge the anger which is in there. But you can't have fear unless something bad has happened in the past that now you're anticipating to happen in the future. That's what fear is. Bad things happen. Now we anticipate it happen in the future. And when bad things happen, anger is a natural defensive response. You want to feel that response. Then you want to feel that's not having what you want. Then you let you feel the disappointment. There's always going to be sadness when things aren't right. And there's always going to be fear, because the brain, if something bad happens, is going to anticipate it and protect you from happening again. And then there's always regret, which is, I wish that hadn't happened. If only I'd done this, if only I'd done that. You know, that's one of the things that happens to people my age. You know, I'm in my 70s, is you look back over your life and you see how oh, if only I'd done this, if only I'd done this, if I'd done this. And you get caught in feeling regret, as opposed to, oh, I'm feeling regret. Because you can't feel regret unless you just align with spirit to say, hey, you now have greater knowledge. When you have greater knowledge, then you can look back and go, okay, that was a mistake. Sorry I did that, and now let it go. So it's a process of, if you connect with spirit and bring it into the world to follow your mission, then you will constantly hit these bumps along the way, the unresolved issues of your family, of your childhood. And what will help you to feel those, awaken those feelings, is the bumps in the outside of the world. So that it's always, you know, what's outside is inside, what's inside is outside. So the more you heal what's inside, the less you get that lesson. But now you're going to rise to a higher level. There's going to be a new challenge. Life is, you just want to really get good at challenging.
Right.
Processing these emotions very quickly. But, you know, Yogananda used to say, Yogananda, another great saint, and my mother brought me as a baby to be blessed by him. Drove all the way from Houston to California to be blessed by Yogananda. She's a very spiritual person, very sort of esoteric, out of the box, angels and all that. She used to do angel healing on me as a child. That was very special.
I bet.
You know, put her hands on my head and the tingling would come down into my body, you know, which I do for people as well. Most people, lots of people can do that now. You do that, calling in the angels. But people just didn't know they can do it. And so many more people today can do it than they could before, because something has happened in the world. There's a huge shift that's taken place. But one of the things Yogananda said was, if you're a white sheet, the bugs will come. If you're wearing a white suit, you notice.
Oh, yeah.
It just, they all come. You know, my joke with this is sometimes I get a mosquito in my room, and because I have the light on and I'm reading. So they'll come in, they see the light, the bugs will come to the light. So the way I get them out of my room is I go into the bathroom and turn on the light, and they'll go over there and I'll close the door. But bugs will come to the light. Yes. That's just inevitable. We just want to, you never get more than you can handle. And when you handle it, you become a better, more aligned person with more gifts and more power to help the world.
So beautifully said. That was so rich, so many beautiful stories. So how can women, how can we, you say, and I love Beyond Mars and Venus, by the way. Everybody needs to get that book.
Everybody should know about that book, because Men from Mars overshadows it. But this is the updated version of Men from Mars. Exactly.
No, it's indispensable. And one of the things you share about so adroitly is how women can prepare men. You know, when we're upset, it's going to shift if they can hold a space for us. As you say, duck and dodge. How can we as women, because I have 2 sons, right? How can we as women prepare men to be able to hold for us so we can come into a state of balance?
You know, that phrase, I want you to hold a space for me, most men don't know what you're talking about. That's the problem with it. Other women do, because a space means it's like an unconditional reaction. I'm not judging anything you say. I'm relating to what you're feeling. And that's a form of validation. And it's interesting, when I wrote Men Are From Mars back in the 90s, the big thing women were saying all the time is, I want validation, I want validation. And the challenge there is that when you're affected, and this is biology now, when you're affected by cortisol, all of your reactions will be overreactions. There's no such thing as a balanced, reasonable reaction if you're in a state of stress.
Right.
This is very well established. And so if you're stressed, for a woman when she's stressed, the major doorway out of stress for her, let's say there's a problem with paying the bills, okay? And if we just could pay the bills, the stress would go away, right? So you think the answer is paying the bills will make the stress go away. Well, you can't pay the bills right then. So what makes the stress go away? Do you have to wait until the bills get paid, until the money comes to pay the bill? Then you're going to stay stressed all that time. Well, women's biology is such that if she can talk about how it feels to not have enough money to pay the bills, and somebody can hold the space, in that space there's no drama that says, my gosh, your life's in danger, terror, terror, terror. It's literally, you have a calm space around you that says, I understand you're having this reaction, and I'm optimistic that you'll get through this reaction and everything will be okay. Now, I remember Bonnie's grandmother, Bonnie, my wife who's passed, her grandmother was a sweetheart, and she lost her husband, and she would talk to me, and she would say, I just miss him so much, because at times when I was upset, he would hold me and he would say, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. That's validation.
Yeah.
I understand you're upset and you're scared and you're upset, and everything's okay. I'm here. We're not apart. Because ultimately what lowers stress for women is connection. They need to feel touched. They need to feel heard. It's not the solution. It's the space around her that says you're safe. One is you're safe simply because I'm not going to tell you you're overreacting, even though in my mind, I know you're overreacting. I know intellectually, anytime somebody's upset, if you have a spiritual point of view, we're all overreacting. Everything is really perfect.
Right.
But on a grounded level, we have upsets and worries, and we have to live in this world and pay bills and make up with each other and find forgiveness and all these challenges that we have because we're human beings and we're on this journey. So when a woman is upset, men have to understand it's normal and natural for women to want to talk about their feelings at times when they're upset. And by talking about those feelings, she's not feeling safe. She will come back to feeling safe, and her feelings will change. That's the key to this. Your feelings will change. It's like you get a bruise, the bruise eventually goes away. Well, when women can't talk about their feelings, the bruise doesn't go away. And that's the problem today, a huge problem today, is that when women are in the work world where you can't always express your feelings, okay, you have to push them down. It's not appropriate. You can't express your fears. You go, oh, I'm so disappointed. I feel so sad. I'm afraid. Oh, don't you like me? You know, any of the inner world that we have, if we were totally transparent, you can't be in the work world. I'm not saying lie, but there's appropriateness. We put on clothes. We don't walk in naked, right? But when you have a partner who you can be naked with, those feelings come up. And Freud pointed this out, first one in the Western world, was saying this is called displacement. The feelings that you have at work that your brain can't acknowledge because it's not safe will show up basically when you are safe, when you can take off your clothes with somebody. Automatically these feelings come up. They're feelings of frustration, of anger, of disappointment, of insecurity, of doubt and guilt, embarrassment. All these things are happening inside. You get home, they will start to come up. But when they come up, they're not immediately linked to what caused them. What will happen is the person you feel safe with, those feelings will be linked to that person because they're the one they're safe to share to. And so it gets displaced on your partner. So instead of being, oh, honey, would you put your socks away? You forgot to, you left them on the floor. It's kind of like, how many times are you going to leave your socks on the floor? Do I have to follow you around and pick up everything? Don't you love me at all? Do you care about this house? Do you appreciate what I do for you? You know, I do so many things. See, suddenly these are psychological phenomena. They're called your brain becomes hijacked when you're experiencing cortisol. You literally don't have blood flow to the part of the brain that can feel love and acceptance and appreciation. Your blood flow doesn't go to the part of the brain that says everything's going to be okay. So holding this space is I'm in a place of trusting that everything's okay. But if a man doesn't understand his role is to take that space, she's upset. He wants to solve her problem for her, tell her, oh, don't worry about this, or you should do this, or it's not my fault you did that. Whatever, he ruins the space by taking it personally or by trying to solve the problem because he doesn't know that the problem really, the stress level is coming from suppressed emotion. And creating a safe environment for her to express emotion will actually change her hormones. Her cortisol goes down. Her estrogen levels go up. Now, when estrogen levels go up, because she feels safe and she feels supported, when estrogen goes up, that's a prerequisite for women to have romantic feelings. Women cannot have romantic feelings unless their estrogen levels go up. And when women are stressed, and this is a test, you can go look, this is proven in science, when women are stressed, their estrogen levels go low.
Wow, amazing. And speaking of, so the hormones, our hormones, because you share a lot about hormones in your books, and it's very helpful. So as we age, and women have less estrogen and more testosterone, and men have less testosterone, et cetera, do the rules shift? Do the techniques shift?
Let me give you a metaphor before I answer that.
Sure.
As I've become in my 70s, I'm much wiser now. Do I not still hold on to the lessons I learned when I was younger?
Sure.
I hold it all on. Everything is built on, built on, built on. I don't just discount everything I've learned. You know, right now I'm this amazingly compassionate grandfather. Love spending time with my little 2-year-old granddaughter. She calls me every day at 2 years old.
Oh.
So sweet. Am I just this grandfather? No, I'm this hardworking guy, and I'm out here solving problems. I'm balancing checkbooks. I'm getting loans. I'm doing all the running businesses. I don't give all that up. Now, men who do give that up die. Okay? And for women, when they go into menopause, if they give up what they learned when they're younger, they also die. Every problem that a woman has in aging is amplified maybe 10 times when her body stops making estrogen. Instead, it makes estrone. Right. Estrone is a weak form of estrogen. And what that means is the beneficial effects of estrogen are not there. Okay, so estrogen calms your brain, estrogen lubricates you so sex can be enjoyable, estrogen takes away wrinkles, it hydrates your body. Also, 90% of people who get osteoporosis for your bone health are women because estrogen also strengthens your bones. So for women, this is a big, big deal, is estrogen. So now we can go back to what we learned when we're younger women, which is how do you increase estrogen? You create a space in the marriage for romance to occur. You create a space in the marriage for sharing emotions and feelings. Because even though her body doesn't automatically make estrogen, her body still can make estrogen. It just has to be stimulated to do it. You don't get automatic estrogen. Think about the retired man. He's just sitting there watching Netflix. He doesn't feel the motivation to work. I didn't feel the motivation to work until you take away my money, and suddenly I'm motivated to use my younger skills to write books to earn money, okay? So it's like you have to have learned your lessons as a younger woman before menopause of what makes me happy and what helps lower stress for me. And even if I'm not stressed, how good it feels to be transparent and vulnerable in the intimacy that I can experience. Because ultimately, women do experience less stress once they're beyond menopause, generally speaking, because they don't feel their needs. You see, most of our stress, women's stress, is I need love, I need support, I need connection. That's estrogen saying, actually that's oxytocin saying you need support, and then estrogen goes up when you get that support. But the bottom line is your body's not going to tell you, you need to go home and talk about your feelings to your partner because you're making estrone, and estrone doesn't tell you you need help, okay? So you'll see many women in menopause, beyond menopause, they feel, I don't need a man, you know, I'm fine on my own. Why do I expect anything from him? And of course, any man living with a woman like that, he doesn't get the benefit of having a woman who needs him. Because if you don't need somebody, if you're not feeling, I need help, I need somebody to listen to me, I need to be heard, I need to be seen, I need romance. If you're not feeling that need, then you can't appreciate it. So you have to remember that I need that stuff. Then when you get that stuff, your body will start making estrogen, but not from your ovaries, because that won't do it, but it makes it from the fat on your body. You actually can lose weight that way. It will convert your fat into estrogen. And one of the reasons women also have eating issues, we see a huge women have eating issues, is because when you're not making enough estrogen, because you're not getting enough connection and sharing your feelings and so forth, if you don't have enough estrogen, your body will say, give me more food. Because when you're eating food, your stress goes down temporarily. It makes estrogen. So food becomes your husband. Right. Food becomes your lover. Food is what quenches your thirst, so to speak. Anytime you're reaching out to something that you depend on, you make estrogen. And we all do need food, but we also need love. So if you're not getting enough love, you might also want to have more food. And so we get these addictions. Another thing women should be aware of is complaining. Complaining is a form of sharing feelings. Okay, so you find somebody who agrees with you, who holds the space. Yes, you have a lot to complain about. I have the same complaints. So you do produce some estrogen, so it's addictive. You're getting a benefit out of complaining. But once you're done with complaining, if the world doesn't change because of your complaining, your complaints just don't go away. And once again, you have suppressed emotion waiting for your next turn to complain. So complaining is one of the worst things that women do for themselves and, of course, for their partners. The whole idea of sharing emotions for your partner to hold the space, if you complain about him in that space, he can't hold the space. We just have to wake up reality here. If you complain about your partner, he's not going to hold the space. He has a biological response to complaints, which is to put up a defense, to minimize your feelings. It's just going to pull out his stress response if you complain about him. But what you can do is you can say to a man, I'm going to talk for 10 minutes. This is called the Venus talk. And I'm going to talk about things that happened today that don't involve you. All I need you to do is listen and not say anything. Now, this is magical, because then he can hear everything you say, just like I can hear all my clients. You know, my clients, sometimes my women would complain, why can't my husband listen to me like you do? And I say, because you don't pay your husband. Well, 2, because you're never complaining about me. If you were complaining about me as your therapist, I'd ask you to find another therapist. I have to be the right one. Yeah. Well, that's what a man's going to feel. If you complain about him, it's like, there's nothing I can do to make her happy. But complain about other things with emotion. And what makes a complaint, it's dissatisfaction expressed in order to change somebody. But if you're sharing with me, your husband, about problems you're having at work or with the kids or with other things, and you're not expecting me to do anything about it, then your brain will let go of the negative emotions and retrain your brain to stop using complaining as a way to make estrogen. Instead, sharing feelings and feeling heard is a way to feel estrogen. Beautiful. I love that. So I have so many questions all at once. Well, I like questions, okay? So otherwise I can keep doing my whole books here.
Oh, wonderful. Well, you know, actually, let's move to this topic of your current book that will be out soon. And yeah, just tell us about your current book. I don't want to share the title. I want you to do that and tell us a little bit about it.
You know, all my books from now on are just going to be called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus with a subheading to it. Okay. So this is Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Be happy with or without a man. So be happy with or without a man. Now, if you're in a relationship with a man, the foundation that you should need to look at first is, are you happy without a man? Are you looking to him to make you happy? You can't look to a man to make you happy. You have to look to yourself and your life to make you happy. Then you give him the job of making you happier. And you also let him know how not to make you unhappy, okay? But if you're not already happy, if you don't have a life that you can come back to find your happiness, you'll be too needy or demanding or unhappy in your relationship. No man can fulfill all of your needs. Now, I feel like I was really blessed by being a monk for 9 years, because so many times in my marriage, I was not happy with my wife. You know, she'd be disappointed with me, I'd be disappointed with her. She'd complain about me, I'd feel a reaction to complain about her. This is what goes on in marriage. You love someone, but the more you love somebody, the more you're affected by them. So complaints have a bigger effect. So it's like a trap, unless you already have a place you can go to find yourself again. myself is I can find that always through meditation. So my wife could make me upset. I would go to my cave, I would meditate, and then I could analyze why I'm upset and let it go. And then come back and be more loving. And so this is not all men have that skill. Not all women have that skill. Women can be upset about their husband. They can go and talk to a girlfriend who, Bonnie used to tell me, she said, I always talk to my girlfriends, but only the ones that think you're an amazing man. Because she doesn't want somebody to go into agreement with her when she's feeling frustrated or disappointed or angry with me or judgmental of me. She wants to just have that space of not someone going, yeah, he's terrible, you should leave him. Oh, he shouldn't do that, or that's bad. You don't want agreement with your ideas. You want understanding of your emotions. You want understanding of your feelings. And we all need something called emotional intelligence. And I add to it, there's wonderful books on it, whatever. But there's not a lot of clarity for people in terms of emotional intelligence to distinguish between your feelings and your emotions. The feelings is just a way that we can identify our frequency. See, we all have a frequency. If you're having a negative frequency, you attract negative things. This is the whole thing about law of attraction. If you have a positive frequency, you resonate with positive things. Well, feelings is just your brain, your conscious awareness, identifying what your frequency is. Is my frequency anger? Is my frequency sadness? Is my frequency fear? Is it joy? Is it enthusiasm? Is it excitement? It is desire and motivation? What's my frequency? Because what that awareness does is we become aware of a negative frequency, and then we can set the intention to find the positive frequency. But you can't change your frequency unless you can first feel it. And what's confusing here is that whenever you have a negative frequency, there's always 3 other frequencies that you have to look at until you can change it to a positive frequency. If you're in a stress state, if I'm not stressed and something's disappointing, I go, oh, no big deal, and move on. But if I'm stressed, there's a lock that happens. So if you're angry and stressed, then you have to feel disappointment, sadness, you have to feel fear, you have to feel regret. You have to feel those frequencies, and then it releases. Then it's like these little parts of us need to talk, and once they're heard, they sit back and say, okay, who else wants to talk? And who else wants to talk is, I'm happy about this, I'm grateful about this, I'm proud of this, I'm confident about this. All these positive feelings get pushed down, because when you push down negative emotions, you push down positive emotions. Now, because we don't have a clarity between feelings, it's just a way of knowing. Thinking is a way of analyzing the outer world, analyzing and looking at what's going on. But feeling is a way of knowing your inner world, your inner experience. Now, so if I'm feeling, and let's say I'm feeling sad, but I'm suppressing my sadness, what I'll experience is I feel like nobody loves me. When you say I feel like something, you're actually suppressing an emotion. And this, you'll see this very much with adolescent girls, but you'll see it whenever women are upset. They'll say, I feel like you don't love me. I feel like I can't do this. I feel like, whenever you say, I feel like, you're skipping over the emotion. I feel sad because I'm thinking that I can't get this done. So feeling your thoughts, if it's negative, is just suppressing negative emotions. Feeling is also, you can feel your thoughts, and if you're feeling positive, that's your intuition. But basically, if you're feeling negative, you're actually affirming the truth, because nobody can argue with you. If I feel something, I feel it. It's like putting it and scratching it in a rock, as opposed to like in the sand, you're drawing a line. I'm sad about this. Your brain will let it go. Brain don't want to hold on to negative emotions. They're painful. But the way you unknowingly lock yourself into these negative states is by expressing a lot. I feel like this, I feel like this, I feel like you don't love me, I feel like you don't care about me, I feel like I can't do this, I feel like they're cheating me, I feel like they shouldn't get that. All this feeling thinking is the most confusing thing, because feelings are a new thing. If you look historically, in none of the literature beyond 200 years ago was the word I feel. This is a state of higher consciousness. And there's a whole book that explains that by professor who studies literature, and he says the irony is people did not say I feel. they didn't have that. If this is a new talent, what we have to do is discern between negative feelings are always based on feeling a lie. That's how you know your feelings are a lie, is it doesn't make you happy. If you feel the truth, it always makes you happy. It gives you peace, it gives you calm, it gives you joy, it gives you motivation. That's what the truth is. So when your feelings are negative, you're feeling a lie. And so what you want to do to release that belief, that lie that you're confounding by believing it as if it's true, is you feel the emotion associated with that belief. And when you feel the emotion, there's a release that takes place. So you take time to practice. And that's my feeling letter exercise, which you did in the workshop.
Yes.
And it's so powerful. Most people have that experience. Their lives are changed by it once. I do it once a week. I do it anytime I'm not feeling full love in my heart. I'll do the process about whatever's going on in my life. But it's a lot of work to do. You come to a workshop, you learn to do it. But so what I've done that I haven't told you about is I've created the Mars Venus Heart Space app.
Oh.
And this app will ask you 4 questions. You answer them either long questions or short questions. It doesn't matter. It's short answers. And it will write out the feeling letter where it expresses all your anger, all your sadness, all your fears, all your regrets, everything that you want, everything that you need. Then it will role play and be a person you're upset with or someone you feel trust for, and they'll give you love and support. So your emotions, they'll give you, I understand you're feeling this, I understand you feel that, you shouldn't feel that, but you deserve this. It will give you lots of, like a loving therapist or parent or an angel giving you support. And then it will write out how that will make you feel. So if that really happened, how would it make you feel? And it will express those emotions inside of you with amazing accuracy. And then it will give you affirmations. It will give you commentary on affirmations. You'll pick the ones that work for you. And then it will even tell you a story about you. It's amazing. If you want a critique, it will also point out how stress makes you catastrophize or yes but or the types of psychological tendencies that rule your life. It will give you analysis of that. All this in a little app. It's amazing. It's like a miracle.
I
It's
love that.
on the market, but it's coming soon.
Okay, beautiful. We will definitely look for that. So I would love to, this is flying. We're almost done. I have so many questions. I'm going to have to ask you to do a part 2, or 3 actually. So as mentioned, I have sons. And it's funny because one of my sons, it actually works for me right now. And I was writing out my questions for you, of which there are many, many more than we'll get to. And one of my questions was something like, how can we be a strong, capable, working woman, ambitious, et cetera, and not emasculate men? How can we motivate them? And it's funny because Danny, my son, wrote in my script, you can't. So I think that's a misunderstanding, though. So for Danny and for all the rest of the many thousands of listeners who will hear this, how in today's world can we be a strong woman? Can we emasculate men? Do we have that culpability, or is there part of that on them? And how can we instead empower them?
Well, let's look at the bottom lines. You use the word emasculate. I usually don't use that word because it implies blame for the woman or whatever. And many men don't really like to think of them being emasculated.
Yes.
If you look at the whole idea of men are from Mars, women are from Venus, women are always telling me, I feel when I read that book, I feel like I'm from Mars. Of course, they're just looking at that and not realizing they're also from Venus. And also they're not in touch with their Venus part, which is very important, which is whenever you're stressed and you're a woman, you're not in touch with your Venus part. Your Venus part is estrogen. The biggest difference biologically between men and women on an emotional, hormonal level is that to feel happy, women need to make 10 times more estrogen than a man, and to be romantic, up to 20 times more.
Wow.
Okay, so this is your world, estrogen. For men, I need to make 10 to 20 times more testosterone than the average woman just to feel happy. And then I need to double it to be turned on.
Amazing.
So we are biologically so different. So emasculation, if we want to use that term, but coming back to my way of looking at it, is women would say, I feel like I'm more from Mars. But rarely would men ever say, I feel like I'm from Venus. Okay, it's an insult to him to be like a woman. Okay, so I pointed out, it's just simply if you're stressed, this is biology, your female hormones will automatically increase. Any man who is producing cortisol, his testosterone levels are going down, his estrogen levels are going up. Let's just take that in for a moment. Whenever a woman is stressed, her estrogen is going down, her testosterone is going up. You can measure a woman when she's stressed. I've got and not this book I've got, but another one I'm finishing up. It's just putting in all the references, hundreds of references if I'm going to talk about science. So I wanted to put it in one book at least. There's so many studies showing that if you're producing cortisol and you're a woman, your estrogen levels will always be too low, according to what your happy norm is, and your testosterone will be too high. And for men, it's just the opposite. His testosterone will be low, her estrogen will be high. And so what we want is to realize, how does a woman unknowingly lower a man's testosterone?
Perfect.
Don't give him space. He needs his cave time. Feedback. I'll just focus on one thing, which is feedback. How do you give feedback to a male? Okay, so if you give a feedback, you should have done this. You didn't do this. Why didn't you do this? What will happen is he gets the message that he's being rejected. He's being corrected. And that will lower his testosterone. Anytime a man feels successful, testosterone goes up. When you're winning, testosterone goes up. When you're losing, testosterone goes down. So you want to make your sons a winner always by asking them to do things, and ask them to do things, and be sure to always appreciate them for it. Thanks, that helped. That was so helpful. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. And what I do for couples, and I'm not talking about sons, but having a partner in your life, what you do is giving unsolicited advice is the bottom line of what I was just saying. I think I'll have to pretty much complete it with that one. Our time is limited. But that is one of the key ways that many men are annoyed by it, and many men are not, because, you know, when I started out my marriage with Bonnie, she was giving me all this advice, and I want to make her happy. Every man wants to make a woman happy. But then I watched how that was feminizing me. Okay, what that meant was, here's a simple example of this. I was becoming less secure inside myself. I'd take her on a date, I'd put on a suit and a tie. Didn't do that often, but I would do that and take her on a romantic date. And for the first 3 times, she said, oh, that tie doesn't go with your shirt. She's just trying to be helpful. She loves me. That tie doesn't go with your shirt. Tie doesn't go with your shirt. 3 times. 4th time, I'm picking out a tie, and instead of having any decisiveness as what do I want to put where, I take that and I go to her and I say, here's a few ties. What do you think? What do you pick? And so I was losing my own sense of decisiveness and becoming more passive. Men have always the vulnerability of becoming passive, and then they become weak. Passivity for a man is low testosterone, referring to her about everything. Now, certainly I want to refer to her about things. I care about her feelings and thoughts, but I should first make decisions on my own. You don't want to lose that decisiveness. So this is a hidden thing that creeps out. You'll see it in these older couples who have no sex anymore. And, you know, you say, what's the secret of you staying together? He says, I say yes to everything she says. Wow. He has no sense of his own, what does he want, what his own decisions. He just sort of follows her. And women at that point, they don't like it. Yeah. In the beginning, they like it, but afterwards, they feel like everything's up to me. And then they feel overwhelmed. They're eager to take on the job, and then they go, wait a second, I'm feeling like I do everything here. And so how do you motivate a man to do more? Well, first of all, you have to be careful about how much advice you give him. Make sure you're asking for the same amount of advice from him as you would give to him, and you maintain that balance.
Beautiful. I love that. And oh my goodness, this time has flown. It's time to move into a brief meditation and then tell people all about how to find you.
Sure.
So wonderful. Thank you for that richness. And so everyone, again, please, unless you're driving, truly open your heart, close your eyes, and allow yourself to just sit in repose for a moment in a place of gratitude. That our Creator has allowed us to learn so much through the different sexes. And just be aware of opening into your true self, into the light that is always who you are, especially when you don't feel that. And now connect to that place in you that is pure light, and allow that light to pour into the younger parts of you that may, through a misunderstanding and through habit, complain or not help our partners, whether they're our spouses or our children or our work partners or simply our friends of the opposite sex. Take a moment and forgive yourself, and truly ask the Christ consciousness, not limited to any particular religion, but that place, that state of grace within us. Ask that grace to bridge the gap between the forgiveness that's possible and what you now feel. And so in this moment, in this shared space, truly forgive yourself for any ways that you did not support your partners, any of the ways that you unknowingly might have shut them down or brought hurt. You didn't know better, or you would have done better. So absolutely, just say inside yourself, I forgive myself. and I forgive them, that we might come into this newness, into this blank state, that we might know ourselves as born the beloved of God, of the universe, of spirit. And as you do, allow yourself to rise up into your highest self, into the truth of you, which is that you are made of pure light, you are divine, you are one with Source. You are the blessings of the Mother, Father God in perfect harmony. You are a being of light, of balance, of truth, of the infinite force of goodness. And so taking a deep breath and breathe in that goodness, that godness, that you might know that truly you are born one with God, one with Source, one with love. And let that love amplify all through you as you're aware of the light flowing from the highest realms of light through all your chakras, through your body, and sweeping into the core of the earth, that you might know that you are the bridge between earth and heaven. You are that light bridge. And so once more, just affirming that you are the presence of love itself. And so be it. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So thank you so much for this time. I wanted to tell people how to find you. Your website is the easiest to remember, marsvenus.com.
That's it.
And I'm gonna give a big plug until your new book comes out for Beyond Mars and Venus. I kept rewinding that book because every chapter is just full of gems. So I highly recommend that everybody listening to this immediately run out and get that book and look for your new book, Mars and Venus, How to Be Happy. Sorry, go ahead.
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Be happy with or without a man.
Beautiful, beautiful. And it sounds like you have a book on health coming out soon. Is that what your other book is?
I have one called How to Talk So a Man Will Listen.
I love that. Is that out now?
Nope. I have to. It's a tedious process to find scientific studies that back up every one of these ideas that I say. So it's not my genre, but yes. I feel like I should do it for one of my books because I talk about hormones now. It's good to have some studies that back it all up. And unfortunately, it's not like science says that makes the conclusions that I make, because I tie all these things together as a relationship expert. Sure. They're just looking at hormones and science and so forth. They don't know that much about relationships or how it applies. Things like stress reactions and different levels, different hormones of stress, and how it affects our body and the way our brains work. Like when you're in stress, your brain goes to the left prefrontal cortex looking at goes to the right prefrontal cortex, and all you see is negativity.
Yeah.
You can't see positivity. It's literally like you put on another pair of glasses and you can't see the good if you're under stress. And you can see the blood flow in the brain. And the more you do it, the more you automatically do it. So anyway, that's marsvenus.com. And then there's another book called Why Men Pull Away. It's a minute from Mars, Why Men Pull Away. Because so many times women are dating today and these guys just pull away. They disappear. What's going on? I help women understand how they unknowingly sabotage relationships.
Amazing. All indispensable books, and all can be found at marsvenus.com and as well as everywhere else.
The ideas are there. Those books aren't there, but they're not yet out yet. But these ideas, I have so many blogs at marsvenus.com. People can go there. It's a wonderful place. Also, I do have things about nutrition. At the top, there's a supplement that I help for women to balance stress levels that I found to be very powerful. And so people can push that button. It will take them to Amazon, not to necessarily buy it, but to read about it. It's too long to explain all the ingredients in it, why it's so helpful to balance hormones and lower stress for women. But I feel that one product has changed the lives of, over 25 years I've been promoting that. I developed it a long time ago, and it's been so helpful for people.
That's wonderful. So again, that's marsvenus.com, and your app is coming out, and that's called Men from Mars.
It's called Men from Mars, Women from Venus. It's called Mars, Venus, Heart Space. That's the heart space. Yeah.
Beautiful.
If people go to marsvenus.com, they can be on my mailing list and we'll let people know when it's available and they can try it out. I'm just so excited for everybody to experience. All my clients are now doing it. And it's like they don't need me anymore because they, get down back to their true self. And it's beautiful.
Well, we will always need you. And let me ask you before we part, how can we support you? What do you need from us?
Well, come to my website. And I take for women, if you want to get the benefit of all my books, there's a class there called Understanding Men. It's very powerful. It's a 6-week course, and people can take that. And also check out marsvenus.com for coming to my workshop. And I appreciate you helping me to let people know about my workshops. I only do them 3 times a year in America. I'll be going off to Europe next week. Here I do it 3 times in the Bay Area, and they're wonderful classes, and they're healing.
They are absolutely healing. I love your workshops. And is Lauren still working with you, your daughter?
She works. She's mainly focusing on being a mother right now with a 2-year, but she always helps me.
Well, congratulations. That's wonderful. So thank you again. This has been so rich. I am going to invite you back on because I have 40 more questions for you. Okay. And everybody, so go to marsvenus.com. Bless you, John. It's been absolutely delightful. To my beloved listeners, thank you so much for listening to Live Your Love. And until we meet again, may you all be blessed. Beautiful. Thank you. So go to marsvenus.com to find John, and my book is now on pre-sale, so please do order it. You can go to aliciadas.com, aliciadas.com/book, and order it there. You'll get lots of bonuses, a whole course. You'll be on my launch team. I'll send you excerpts before the book actually comes out, March 3rd, 2026. So if you would order it now, you'll get lots of goodies along the way and pretty much the entire book sent to you before you get the physical book. So again, it's called Your Angelic Ancestry. Discover your archangelic name, heritage, and higher purpose. It's like Ancestry.com for the angelic realm. It's about really connecting to archangels from within your own angelic self and accessing the angelic acumen of divine remembrance, grace, and celestial love that has been laying just latent within you. And it's time now to step up into that manifestation of that miraculous self. So I hope you'll order that. Until we meet again, do open your heart and know you are truly the presence of love. Live your love. Bye for now.